This is the Aunty M Brain Tumours talk show. It's a show full of informative chat and inspirational messages. The Aunty M Brain Tumours talk show on podcast. Hello, today we have an interview.
We'll be talking to Jacky Fredrickson, who wrote a book called John about her son's brain cancer. Unfortunately, Jacky, she lost John at 26, but he asked his mum to write a book and share his story, which Jacky's now done.
I'm going to go and give her a call. Oh, it looks like it is working. Hi, Jacky.
Hello.
Hi, Jacky, it's Claire.
Hello.
Thank you that you said that you'll come and talk to us. Just going back to the beginning, when was John diagnosed with a brain tumour?
Thank you for asking me to come on, and it's good to talk to you. John was 16 years old. In 2002, he was having terrible headaches, steadiness and sickness, but a number of doctors dismissed it as various things like GCSEs, exam nerves and working too hard and PlayStation and different things. Eventually, the optician diagnosed it.
What type of tumour did he have?
He had medulloblastoma, which normally affects children. It's a paediatric tumour, which it can be very aggressive, and it was with John. He had a brilliant consultant, and she was keen to try different things. We thought a year of treatment in his first instance in 2002 to 2003. We really all thought that he'd done it and that was fine. He had 6 years of being clear, and then we thought he was a survivor, he was fine. But in 2008, it came back. His consultant tried a different sort of radiotherapy, a stereotactic radiotherapy, which was less invasive than the original radiotherapy, which he couldn't have again. And it was very grueling treatment, chemotherapy, and he found it very difficult. We all found it very difficult, but we thought he'd got through it. He'd actually had a clear MRI scan, but it came back in 2010. 2011 and in 2012, it wasn't reacting to chemotherapy anymore. We were given quite bad news that there was nothing they could do about it. He was very strong and very determined and very positive to kick it. And so he kept working hard. He was quite amazing, really, that his bravery to keep on facing these brick walls every time it came back. There was another hurdle to climb. He did very well to have survived 5 brain tumours over 10 years. So it did keep coming back. And each time it got a bit more aggressive till in the end it wasn't reacting to chemotherapy anymore.
Was it coming back to the same part, or was it new ones that were being found?
No, it's the same place. It grew back into the same place. But in 2010, he'd actually had a clear MRI scan. But during the year, a lump appeared on his neck. And his consultant hadn't seen that before. She didn't really think that it could be anything to do with it. But it was pretty much below the area towards the back of his head. It was just below that, and this lump, and it got bigger and bigger, and then it got red and inflamed. And so he had to have a biopsy on that. And of course, they then found that in fact it had spread to his lymph system. So that was the outcome there. That was pretty dire when that happened in 2010. It spread to his lymph gland at that point.
When this happened, how did you deal with things?
When it came back, I think we were all in denial, and we didn't think it could possibly be, because he'd been so well and so clear, and he was living in a flat by himself as well, and he'd never looked better, to be honest. So when he got this phone call on the bus to say that there was something on his scan and he'd better come back to the Children's Hospital in Bristol, we were all horrified, absolutely horrified. And I remember saying to my husband, I can't go through this again, I can't do this again. And he just quietly said, we've got to, and we will. But John was always so positive. He was, I can do this. He was very brave. He was very determined and courageous. And whatever treatment they would have suggested, he would have said, okay, that's what it takes. That's what I'll do. And so when he was around, it was easier to be positive as well. We try to keep as upbeat as possible, really, all the time.
Yeah. Beyond John passed away, was it him wanted to write a book, or was it that you wanted to write the book about what you were going through?
No, I hadn't thought about writing a book, but because he'd had such a roller coaster of a ride with the tumours that came and went, but everything in between as well that he did, because he did a lot of things in between being ill, and he worked very hard, and he was a very inspirational person to a lot of people, and funny. as well. But it was just after we'd been to see the consultant the last time it was agreed this chemotherapy that you're having at the moment really isn't working. You're not well enough to have any more. She never said it, but it was obvious that was pretty much the end of the road. And the following morning, he looked across his room and said to me, "It's too late for me, but will you write a book about me when I've gone?" People had been saying to him, "You should write your story, John." So I said I would. I actually think he was quite clever, because I think he knew that if I had a project to get my teeth into, it would actually be good for me. It would give me something very positive to do. I was surrounded by pictures of him and his hats and different things, and it was a very cathartic and therapeutic thing to do, to relive. I started with the end because those memories were very fresh in my mind. I wrote a list of the things that I wanted to include in the book and worked my way through my memories, which is actually a really lovely thing to do, because so many of my memories were very happy ones, and the special things that we'd done and how he was as a little boy and the times that we shared. And although it was very hard, because obviously the most painful times of my life were there were some really lovely times as well.
How long did it take you to write it?
It took 3 years from the date I started writing it. It was almost exactly 3 years between starting to write it in the notebook and having the published book. At first, writing it in the notebook took a long time. I kept revisiting it and changing bits, but then I had to do it on the computer, and that actually took a long time to transfer my handwritten memories into a coherent text on a computer.
Now, it's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon and Kindle. I intended, and from people's comments, it is inspirational. I'm hopeful that it's uplifting as well as being sad. Probably, I know some of my friends have said that all young adults ought to read it, because it gives a clue as to how to cope with times of adversity, and maybe to count their blessings a little bit, to think that actually time is precious and that life is precious, and what we do with it is important, rather than to waste days moaning about things and being bored. That actually, so you could be inspired to decide to do something with your life, I think.
I'm saying thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Okay, bye-bye now.
Bye. This is the Aunty M Brain Tumours talk show. It's a show full of informative chat and inspirational messages. The Aunty M Brain Tumours talk show on podcast.